Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today, we're looking at something that I thought was pretty interesting. It's about how Lehigh University made their 10-year strategic plan. Now, I know, you hear
Oh,
strategic plan and you think, kind of boring.
yeah. You don't exactly jump for joy.
Right. But this one is interesting. What they did was they actually got input from everybody.
Right.
Yeah, their whole community. Students, faculty, staff,
Hmm.
alumni. They all had a voice in what they wanted the future of the university to be, and they used this platform called IdeaScale to do it. So
Yeah.
what can we learn from them? It doesn't matter if we're in academia or not.
What's really cool is how seriously they took this whole community engagement thing. They didn't just
Yeah.
give it lip service. They went all in,
Yeah.
which is pretty rare for a university that's as big and well known as Lehigh is. They had a real challenge on their hands. How do you get useful information from thousands of people who all have different priorities, different points of view?
Yeah. Before they used IdeaScale, they were doing the same old stuff, you know? Spreadsheets, emails, town halls, which not everybody can even go to. They knew that wouldn't work for something this important.
Right, and that's where IdeaScale comes in. It's not just some online forum. It's a way more advanced platform. You can use it to structure the discussion, get feedback in an organized way,
Ah.
and refine the ideas. Plus, it could actually handle all the input they knew they would get.
They were really into the whole transparency thing, too. Like,
Right.
the IdeaScale community they made, they called it our future, our Lehigh. That's a pretty strong message.
It is. Like they're saying, hey, this isn't just the administration's plan. This is everybody's plan. When you change people's mindsets like that,
Yeah.
you get buy-in. And the plan is more likely to work.
Okay. They had the platform. They had the right message. But did people even use it?
Though they definitely did.
Mm.
The numbers are pretty impressive. Over 2,400 people participated, 105 different discussion sessions.
Mm.
They came up with 383 different ideas, over 1,000 comments, almost 5,000 votes. That's not just participation, that's real engagement.
Wow, that's a lot. But I'm curious, did IdeaScale do anything besides just getting a ton of input? Did it actually make people feel differently about how the plan was made?
Well, Patricia Mann, she's the one who led this whole thing at Lehigh. She said that IdeaScale really helped create a sense of ownership in the community. People felt like their opinions actually mattered and that their feedback was taken seriously.
It sounds like they were really able to build some trust with this.
Definitely. That's something any organization can learn from. Doesn't matter if you're a university, a business, or even just a community group. If people feel like they're part of finding the solution, they're going to be way more invested in what happens in the end.
So let's talk about the plan itself. They called it Inspiring the Future Makers, which seems pretty fitting considering how they made it. Can you give us the basics of what the plan is about and how it connects to all this input they got from the community?
Sure. The plan has three main parts. Make it new. That one's all about innovation. Then there's make a difference, which is about having a real impact.
Great.
And finally, make it together. That one's all about working together. And if you think about these goals, they're really just a reflection of everything they talked about in IdeaScale. It's about trying new things, making a difference in the real world, and doing it all together.
So basically, they took the values from the process of making the plan and put them right into the plan itself.
Exactly. When your process and your product line up like that, people see that you're being genuine,
Yeah.
and they're more likely to support what you're doing.
Okay, so we have these three big goals, but what do they actually look like in practice? Like, what specific things is Lehigh going to do to make these goals happen?
Well, the plan's pretty thorough. It covers things like interdisciplinary education, research initiatives,
Hmm.
changing the campus, programs to get the community involved. They're also focusing on stuff like lifelong learning, diversity and inclusion, and using data to make decisions.
Wow, they're really trying to do it all. Did they use IdeaScale to get feedback on these specific initiatives too?
Oh, yeah. The community got to weigh in on the initiatives, rank them in order of importance,
Mhm.
even suggest new ones. So it wasn't just about the big picture. They also got really detailed about how to make it all happen.
I'm noticing a pattern here. They really paid attention to every detail, and they were committed to including the community's feedback at every step.
You got it. That shows just how much Lehigh was dedicated to making this a truly collaborative process. And that's something we can all learn from. It's amazing how they got that balance right, setting a clear direction, but still making sure everyone felt involved.
Yeah, it's tough to do, but it seems like they did it. One thing that really stood out to me about the plan was how it brought together all these different things. You have these really advanced research projects, and at the same time, they have programs focused on the local community.
That's what makes inspiring the future makers so interesting. It's not just a bunch of random things. It's one big vision, all the pieces fit together. Like one of their goals is to make their campus a living lab for sustainability. So they're not just talking about being eco-friendly. They're actually changing how the university is built to match their values.
And that connects perfectly to their goal of working with the community in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Right. They're not just focused on themselves. They're looking at how they can team up with the city to solve problems together and give their students a chance to make a real difference. They even have this initiative called Mountaintop Campus. And it's not just a cool name. It's a whole area for interdisciplinary research and working with businesses.
I love that Mountaintop Campus name. It makes you think of reaching for something bigger than yourself. And from what I've read, they're really pushing the limits of what's normally done in academia with this.
They're bringing together people from all different areas, engineering, business, the arts, even the humanities, to work on big issues like climate change, healthcare, and making cities better. It's a whole new way for universities to do things.
It sounds like Lehigh is really becoming a leader in this, but did they have any problems along the way? I mean, not everyone likes change, especially at a place like a university.
That's a good point. And you're right, some people were unsure about using IdeaScale for something as important as strategic planning. Some people thought it was too impersonal, or that it would take away from face-to-face conversations.
So how did they deal with that?
Oh, well, first they made it clear that IdeaScale wasn't meant to replace talking to each other. It was more of making sure everyone could participate. They also focused on training people to use the platform so that everyone was comfortable.
And did that work? Did everyone get on board?
It took some time. Some people had to learn how to use it. But Lehigh was really good at addressing people's concerns, providing support, and making changes as they went. In the end, I think it's clear that it worked.
You know, it's funny. We've been talking about how Lehigh used IdeaScale to plan for their future, but I'm starting to think this approach could be used for all sorts of problems, not just in universities.
Exactly. This case study isn't just about a university using some cool technology. It's about being open and honest, including everyone, and working together. Those are things that work anywhere. A university, a business, even just a group of people trying to decide something.
It makes me think about all the people in my own life who have great ideas, but don't always have a way to share them.
I see what you mean. It makes you wonder, what if we took this collaborative planning idea even further? Like, what if we did it on a global scale?
Now you're talking. We could call it the global brain.
I like that. Connect people from all over the world. Use everyone's ideas to solve the biggest problems we face.
We could have online brainstorms, get solutions from anyone, get instant feedback.
Hold on. Before we go too crazy with this global brain idea, we got to think about how complicated it would be. Different languages, different cultures, different levels of technology. It would be a huge thing to try to do.
You're right. It wouldn't be easy, but I think it's worth thinking about. I mean, look what Lehigh did. If they can get thousands of people to work together, imagine what we could do with billions.
I'm starting to see the possibilities. But before we get into how to build this global brain, let's think about why Lehigh's approach worked so well in the first place.
Good point. We've been so focused on what they did and how they did it that we haven't really talked about why it worked. Why were people at Lehigh so into this?
Well, I think one reason was that they felt like they were really part of it, like they were part of something important, and that what they did mattered. That's a powerful feeling.
It wasn't just about doing what they were told. It was about being part of a community and shaping its future. That can be really inspiring.
It is. And it's not just about feeling good. When people are invested in the outcome, they work harder. They're more creative, they think, outside the box. That's where real innovation comes from.
Okay, so we have this idea of ownership, but I think there's something else too, trust. People need to trust that they're being heard, that their feedback matters, and that the whole process is fair and open.
You're absolutely right. Without trust, none of it works. And Lehigh worked hard to build that trust right from the start. They were honest about their goals, their challenges, and how they were going to do things. They always asked for feedback. And they made it clear that they were willing to change their plans based on what they heard.
So it was about showing that they were really listening, not just pretending to.
Yes, that kind of honesty makes people trust you more.
And when people trust the process, they're more likely to participate, share their ideas, and be open to new things, which then leads to better results. And that makes people trust the process even more.
Exactly. It's a positive feedback loop.
Like a snowball effect, but in a good way.
Exactly. And I think that's important to remember as we think about this global brain idea. It's not just about making a website or an app. It's about creating a culture of trust, transparency, and collaboration.
So how do we do that on a global scale? How do we create a space where people from all over the world feel comfortable sharing their ideas,
Uh,
working together, and believing that they can make a difference? This is where things get really interesting.
I agree. And I think Lehigh's experience can teach us a lot as we try to do this. One thing that really stuck with me about how Lehigh did this was that they didn't just use IdeaScale to get ideas at the beginning. They actually used it to keep getting feedback even after the plan was launched.
Oh, yeah. They didn't just make the plan and then forget about it. They wanted to make sure it would still work, even if things changed at the university.
Right. And that's so important when you're talking about something as big as this global brain idea. The world never stops changing. So anything we come up with has to be able to change too.
It's true. The only thing that stays the same is change. So how did Lehigh actually keep getting feedback? Did they just leave IdeaScale up and running forever?
Well, yeah, they did keep it open, but they did even more than that. They had a whole team of people whose job it was to look at the feedback, see what was trending, and figure out if the plan needed to be changed.
So they were being proactive, not just waiting for problems to pop up.
Exactly. They were actively looking for ways to make the plan better. And that's something people often forget about when they're planning. They're so busy making the plan that they don't think about what happens after it's done.
It's like building a house and then never doing any repairs. Eventually, things start falling apart.
Perfect analogy. That's why this whole feedback loop thing is so important, especially for something as big and complicated as this global brain idea.
Mhm.
We have to constantly be checking in, making sure we're still on the right track, and changing things as we need to.
And to do that right, we have to make sure we're getting feedback from the right people. It can't just be the same people in charge all the time.
Exactly. We need to hear from the people who are actually affected by the problems we're trying to solve, the people on the front lines. They're the ones with the best insights.
It's like that saying, the best ideas come from the most unexpected places.
Right. And the best solutions come when you have people with different backgrounds and experiences working together.
That's one of the things I'm most excited about with this global brain thing. It's about getting rid of the old ways of doing things, where only certain people have power and knowledge, and creating a system where everyone can contribute.
You got it.
So to bring it all back to where we started, Lehigh University gave us some great lessons that we can use for this global brain idea. They showed us how important it is to be open and honest, to include everyone, and to work together. And they showed us how to keep getting feedback to make sure our solutions actually work.
And they proved that even these huge global problems aren't impossible to solve. We just have to use all the smarts we have and work together to do it.
And maybe most important of all, we have to make sure everyone feels like it's their responsibility to make things better for ourselves and for the future.
Perfectly said. I think that's a great place to wrap things up.
Yeah. If you want to learn more about Lehigh's plan, we put a link in the show notes. And as always, thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time.